afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've been enjoying the event so far. It's really exciting for us to have someone of Bobby's experience and background to speak to us here. He has come all the way from San Francisco, and as Ali suggested, he is right in the thick of venture capital investing, right at the forefront of the US tech industry now, and he has been for some decades. In fact, he is one of the real early founders and pioneers when it comes to venture capital investing in the United States, and he's done it incredibly successfully, having backed names like Dropbox and other. You can talk us through a few in a moment, Bobby, but some of the biggest names in the US tech industry. You also all may have come into contact with some of Bobby's ingenuity. In fact, he's not just an investor. He likes to get his hands on and involved with the companies. And if any of you have been to a hospital recently and had a little white clip put on your finger to read the oxygen in your blood, Bobby was behind the code that was written into the Masimo pulse oximeter, which is now a company that's listed, not only wrote the code, but also invested in the company, and it's still listed on the NASDAQ today. Bobby, that was a pretty early foray into technology.
Yeah, it was the investment. I think I was 22 years old. I had $10,000, I think, in my bank account. I put all of it in Masimo. So it ended up to be a standard of care. I mean, if you have ever gone to the hospital, the very first thing they need to check on you is whether your heart is operating. In order to do that, they need to know the saturation of your oxygen in your blood. And so we were in the days of it, and I essentially helped create Timecodes and the development of it. But better, it was the investment part of it. So we made a lot of money owning the stock as a public company, of course.
And is that what ignited your passion for early stage investing, or what was it that it drew you to investing in early stage companies?
Well, I think it wasn't really just an early stage. I think I'm an immigrant. So I'm a atypical immigrant story in America. So I came to America as a student. I went to Berkeley. I studied mathematics and computer science. I had no idea where I ended up, and I had no idea where this place called Silicon Valley. I had no idea what that world looks like. I've only left, my home country, which was Iran. I was born in Iran, left Iran, during Iranian Revolution. And I knew there was something special about America. And when you read through the history of America, it's all about entrepreneurship. And they're the kind of truly the frontier work that has been done in that country is, the history of it is incredible. The businesses, the innovation, the risk takers that have come to America, the history of those risk takers was inspiring. And that's how I knew I want to be part of that kind of group of people who are participating with that kind of a mindset. That's what was really inspiring for me. So I ended up to be an entrepreneur.
So tell us, Cota Capital today, give the people in the room who might not be familiar with what you do, give us a snapshot of what you're looking for and what you're doing.
So the history of Cota Capital, I made my money by being an entrepreneur and operator building businesses. So I ended up taking a company public. I ended up having my first wealth. I set up my family office. I knew a lot about technology. I'm in Silicon Valley. I knew how to place essentially investment into early stage companies. It essentially was bigger than a family office. And I couldn't really bring together the best group that can help me to manage my capital and constantly deploy it in a category that I loved, which was the technology sector in the United States. So I decided to launch Cota Capital in 2014. It took me about a year to find a cadre of other people like myself that were willing to build a platform. So Cota is now 7.5 years old. The mandate of the firm is to only focus in the United States. We only invest in the United States. We only invest in enterprise technology. And to date, we have put about $1 billion US to work. The mandate of the firm is to be able to manage around 3 to 4 billion. And we are the biggest investor in our own firm. And we brought other families who co-invested with us and continue the work of financing companies that are building, frontier technology for large businesses and government. That's our focus.
Well, let's go to Silicon Valley. Everything we're reading about and hearing about is around a flush out of the excess that we saw with huge valuations, companies in the era of free money, hiring like crazy. I did some numbers and nearly 250,000 technology staff have been shed from the big tech firms this year to date to August. So what does it look like on the ground in Silicon Valley right now? Is it ground zero? Is that green shoots? What's happening?
It's the cheapest time to start a company, which is the best time. So it was a contrarian. Actually, this is the best time to start a company. So we've gone through this kind of a boom and bust. At least I have seen it 4 times. The first time I saw it was 1991. The second time I actually saw it was around 2000, 2001, internet bubble was. And then we saw it, some excesses actually in 2009 and 10, and this is the 4th one. And there's always these boom and bust periods. And you got to make sure you're selling ahead of it and buying after it as an investor. So what's happening in the Silicon Valley today? We have generated more cash than the United States government in the past 90 days. This is the liquidity that the tech sector is generating. Just look at Nvidia generated $7 billion of excess profit. The free cash flow and the operating margin is because of those 250,000 people don't have a job yet. So the shift has gone from top line growth to operating leverage. But what is really interesting is that the models would allow to see the leverage in the model and significant amount of cash that businesses are throwing off. So Apple balance sheet, you look at Google balance sheet, you look at Cisco's balance sheet, you look at Oracle balance sheet, I can go on. I mean, these are trillions of dollars that are on balance sheets. And there are hundreds of billions of dollars every quarter being generated globally from these companies. So when you look at the core of the sector and the industry is extremely healthy. And then you look at the boom and bust is part of the cycle and is a necessary, being a capitalist, society we are, to take the excesses out and get back to the fundamentals and the basics. What else is going on? So, and from a cyclicality standpoint, we are essentially, you've seen the destruction of some values, but the balance sheets are strong, the companies are strong. But in terms of the innovation, you're in the beginning of a new cycle. So that's why you asked me about talking about AI. I've been talking about this pretty much all day with different large investors here in your country, is that there is a beginning of a super cycle in the technology. I give you kind of the big picture. The past cycles was about technologies that improve humanity's information access. Your mobile phone is access to information. Your web browser is an access to information. So the past cycles were about information, the scalability of access to information, and be able to get access to information real time. This next cycle is about access to cognitive and access to knowledge, which is the beginning of a super cycle with AI. These are not the similar system that has predictable output. So the input does not produce the same output every single time because of the fact that the output is a new input and is constantly evolving. So we are entering the age of cognitive age or the knowledge age. And it's a very different characteristic to it than the information age that we've experienced.
What are some of those characteristics that you think are worth paying attention to?
Well, if you look at the components of these new systems, there are essentially three core components to it. Number one, you need really fast brains to compute. So the H100 Nvidia chip that was introduced in 2022 is an order of magnitude faster than the previous chip. What does that mean? You can run math faster. You can run algorithms faster. You can get access to memory faster. The second component is an important component of this system is the data pipes. Because these are not rule-based systems. These systems are not, if you see this, then this happens. These are algorithms that are learning systems. And the algorithms are learning from the data that is surveilling or seeing. So the rules are generated real time. There is no rule embedded in the code anymore. So the advances in the management of the data and what we call digestion of the data, that by itself is a whole industry. And the third component of it is, of course, the advancement of the algorithms. The algorithms advancement is gone from literally a DeepMind at Google 10 years ago. The acceleration of the advances are nonlinear now. So these algorithms are getting smarter and smarter because it sees more and more data. And the more people feed the data, essentially the transformers are getting smarter. Again, the basics way I can describe it is that this software, there is no rules embedded in it. The data generates the rules. And the more data you feed it, it can deal with more complex set of rules or interdependencies of rules. And that's what's happening right now in the industry.
You've touched a bit on AI already, but that's something we want to dig into now. In a recent interview on Bloomberg, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said he believes the impact of artificial intelligence will be just as profound as the internet. Do you share that view?
I do. I think this is the first time I've seen, as I said, the age of cognitive sciences, the age of understanding truly at work, where the machines are augmenting human intelligence. And that augmentation is not necessarily that the intent is not to replace human. The intent is replace the human plus AI. So it's an augmentation of the human. It's not about replacing human. How many people here does not carry a phone? Raise your hand. Doesn't exist. This is augmentation of a technology to a human space. It will be very similar what you will see with what we refer to as co-pilots. All of us, we're going to have our own co-pilots in some way or another. If you're a software developer, you're going to have a co-pilot that helps you develop software faster. If you're an asset allocator, you're going to have a co-pilot. If you're an asset allocator of a commodity, you're going to have a commodity co-pilot. If you're an asset allocator of a currency, you're going to have a co-pilot. And the list goes on and on and on. So there would be this intelligence that's going to be augmenting us that would help us to do our jobs better, faster, with better accuracy. We're going to be we would have less effort, better efforts, I would say, more intelligent effort in the way we make decisions, and these systems essentially would support us. So my focus is enterprise. My focus is not consumer. I have no interest in that space. My interest is going to the core business processes, core challenges of large governments and large companies. And my focus on AI is all about enterprise right now.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about some companies, some winners and losers in a moment. But, one of the things I've read about, your background is your success in technology investing has come from being able to forecast where industries will go, not over the next 6 or 12 months, but over longer periods of time. And so on a 5-year time frame, I wanted to know where you think the most profound changes as a result of artificial intelligence will be? Where will we feel the impacts?
In 1988, I joined a young company called Oracle with a couple of hundred engineers. And it was the beginning of the information management system. And it was about destruction of IBM. That's what all Larry Ellison, our CEO, is. How do we take IBM out? How do we take IBM out? And it was the beginning of a whole phase of information technology. And then we saw internet. And then we saw mobile. And the list goes on. So these cycles happen. So this particular cycle is also very foundational because of the advances we have had in AI. There would not be a business process or a system that would empower the government, your networks, your utilities, your core industries that would not be impacted by AI in terms of empowering those industries with AI capabilities. So I think we are in a super cycle now. Typically, these super cycles have been in technology. In my sector, used to be 10 years, then become 7 or 8 years. Now it's getting even shorter. So these cycles are getting shorter and shorter. This one, I can't tell you if it's going to be 3 years or 5 years, 7 years, but I know we are in a super cycle. Now, how do I know it's a super cycle? I follow the smart people that are much smarter than me and what they do. So part of I'm like an investigative journalist that's constantly looking where all these smart brains are going and where they're writing code and what is the code base that they're empowering. And it's incredible the amount of smart people who are living the big tech today, starting new companies in Silicon Valley. We had close to 2,000 new AI companies in San Francisco Bay Area created since the beginning of 2023. And these are incredibly bright people coming out of the major labs and starting companies in a very broad areas, not just a chat GDP or whatever. By the way, OpenAI is the creator of ChatGPT right here based in San Francisco. And so is Microsoft based in San Francisco. And all those people in those labs are leaving them and starting also new companies. So why are they doing that? Because they have a special knowledge, and there are very few people have that special knowledge, and they're starting things now. And I can tell you, I think in Bay Area, there are no more than 4,000 or 5,000 people who know about this. They have that special secret, know how to develop these systems and build this system that is starting these companies. So it's the beginning of a cycle. I think where it's going to be, I think AI would be no different when I asked the question, how many of you don't have a phone sitting in this audience? The answer was no one. I'll ask you 5 years from now, how many of you don't have your co-pilots to you? And you're going to say all of you would have. You would have it on your phone, you would have it at your home, and you have different co-pilots. You have co-pilots help you educate your children. You will have co-pilots help you solve health issues that you're dealing with. You're going to have whole co-pilots helping you manage your money or giving you advices and things along. List goes on. It will be part of the kind of the experiences we all going to have.
When we talk about innovation, people love to hear about disruption and destruction. Do you think there are industries that face true disruption from the rise of AI?
I think there are two types of change. We call it net new. There is net new to disrupt the past and legacy. And there is net new when there is a new challenge comes to universe that we've never seen before. Okay, and it requires a new approach or new techniques. I think there would be winners and losers whenever there is a change. And that's related to how fast you accept the change. The people who accept change very slowly, they tend to lose fast. The people who embrace the change, they tend to go with the change and participate in the change and win. So I think there would be disruptions, but there would be also tons of opportunities. I'll give you an example. I think healthcare in the United States is 12% of our gross national product. 12% of the entire economy goes into caring and the health of the population. 12%. That's a huge drag if you think about to an economy of that size. You're talking about a close to $20 trillion economy, and you're spending 12% of your money caring of people. None. Where is that money going? Most of it goes to what we call the chronic diseases and chronic problem, cancer. Cancer. If we can remove cancer, that 12% would drop off immediately by 30 to 40%. So we would want to use some of these technologies, including AI, to think about how we would be able to address and how can we leverage it in healthcare as an example. So I'm very hopeful. I believe cancer is a math problem. The biology is understood, but we cannot compute how do we address it because it's so personalized to every individual. And I believe that the cancer would be taken out, and it would not be necessarily a burden in our societies and our communities and our families over the next decade. So that's one area that I'm very hopeful from disruption. This is a good disruption, not a bad disruption, to be able to take that out. One of the constructs I give you think about, I think technologies that are inclusive versus technologies that are exclusive. Technologies that are inclusive tends to win. Technologies that are exclusive tends to die fast. Mobile phone is an inclusive technology. Internet is an inclusive technology. AI is an inclusive technology. Any technology that are for elites, they don't become standards and they don't win. So technologies like AI, which can have such a broad base of support and leverage in society, would win. So I also think that there would be tons of opportunities because of AI for broadening the entire society, education, healthcare, security, cybersecurity, security, risk management, and the list goes on.
Well, Bobby, I wouldn't mind if we could bring it to life. Maybe you could just share a company that you invested in, that's something that you're owning that is in that AI space that you're really excited about. It sounds like you see a lot of ideas, you talk about the innovation cycle. Could you bring it to life with an idea for us?
I mean, I give you multiple cases. I invested in a company called Rhombus. Rhombus is a physical security company that use AI. I'll give you the case. You drop off your kid in the morning in front of the school. You want to make sure that the kid enters the facility. You want to make sure that the children are safeguarded in the perimeters that they are all day. And when you want to pick them up, you want to go pick them up in front of the school or what have you. This system, Rhombus, is being used in a lot of the public schools and standardized in a lot of public schools in America because we have security issues and safety issues in our public schools. They would know exactly which car and which license plate and who was behind the car, who dropped off the kid. And they would know that this is the same kid that entered from this door into the building and constantly be able to watch that kid throughout the facility. This is an example of application of AI in security, and it's very broad. Yes, it does do profiling. And yes, it does look at a mesh set of signals. We cannot install cameras in the bathrooms of schools. But I do want to hear if somebody is screaming. So how do I know that there's somebody in the school is screaming? Or I do want to make sure that the doors are fairly secure and people cannot get in and out of the facilities. I mean, you guys might not have this issue in your society or community, but in where we live, people have guns, and people come in and out of, they have guns in their vehicles, and they have to secure all these perimeters. So this is an example of a company called Rhombus, based in California. This is a second-time entrepreneur. The company had literally started in 2020 in the middle of COVID. Today, they have over 2 million cameras that's installed. They projected to have over 10 million cameras installed. And all of these cameras are connected to the cloud and connected to the brain of this AI that does all that work, and other sensors that they would use. So that's one example of a company that I'm excited about. Another company we just made an investment in, it's a stealth company, so I can't even share the name. They've created a co-pilot and a brain that essentially ingesting globally all of the cybersecurity threats that is available publicly. So if government, let's say defense in Japan, publish immediately that our surveillance suggests that there is a threat, this system is picking up. It reads and digests in 22 languages. It digests anything publicly available on cybersecurity globally. And then it takes all of that and learn from it and marry your corporate data and with this public data to be able to do surveillance of your digital asset and be able to look at it and say, hey, here is a anomaly, there's something abnormal here, there's something that doesn't make sense, and immediately flag it. So this is another example of a company. There's quite a few, the list goes on, of the companies of this sort.
Well, Bobby, I am conscious that you're flying to Brisbane and you need to jump in a cab. We do have this problem in Australia where some flights aren't there, so just be aware, hopefully. But just very briefly, I'm going to be asking the global equity managers if they think Nvidia is overhyped or underrated. And before I let you go, I want to know, do you think Nvidia is overhyped or underrated?
You're asking me a question about my pay grade. I wouldn't be able to say that. I mean, I don't know. I can't do valuation work on this caliber of companies or this market cap. That's not my area of expertise. But I can tell you that the H100 that's gone production in 2022, I don't see anybody be able to catch up with. That data I can give you. Now, can I tell you that what's the valuation of this company? I cannot tell you that. But I did buy it in 2020.
Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, could you put your hands together for Bobby? We'll let you get to your flight. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.